How's it going, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video for you guys. And with this one, let's talk about the Ratchet and Clank movie. The movie based off the video game, which is the reboot of, well, the video game, which was released in 2016 and directed by Kevin Monroe and Jerica Cleveland. Hopefully, I'm looking at this at IMDb, but it's written by T.J. Fixman, Kevin Monroe, Gary Swallow, starring James Earl Taylor, David Kay, Jim Ward, and many others. Actually, one of them including Sylvester Stallone, as I was kind of surprised about, and Paul Giamatti. But yeah. So, this was a interesting experience. Now, for those who don't know, at least when this came out, I don't know if it was supposed to promote or if anything kind of be at the same vein as the reboot game that came out around the same time. Now, to some degree, I'm just gonna say a lot of the scenes themselves, or at least portions of certain scenes, were used as cutscenes for the initial film, but there was a lot added onto it, or at least stuff left out for people to see for the movie. And I gotta say, the movie itself is actually really fun. It's a lot of fun, and the animation itself is also really good. But going forward, to kind of discuss this, as it's described in IMDb, that when the galaxy comes under the threat of a nefarious space captain, a mechanic and his newfound robot ally join an elite squad of combatants to save the universe. And I gotta say, especially when it comes down to it, we start off like really strong with showing the major threat, what they're doing. And we get to see a little bit of Ratchet near the beginning and where he comes from, which I thought was kind of cool. Ratchet and Clank, they kind of pull 180 with their characters, where in the original, I guess the original source, or if anything, the original game, whereas in this film, Ratchet is, the Phayn. He's somebody who wants to aspire to be, Galactic Ranger, somebody who wants to be a hero. Originally, Ratchet didn't care much for, at least for the first part anyway, didn't care about really being a hero. He just kind of, ended up becoming one, due to, the adventure that him and Clank went through. And as well as at this point around, where, like with Clank, he actually does a 182, where it seems like he originally, who was focused on one goal, was a little bit naive, but in this version, he's a lot more different, or at least how he's portrayed is a little bit more different, where he's not as naive as he was originally. So I thought that was kind of funny. At the same time, we have, characters like freaking Captain Quark, who is an insufferable ass. I'm sorry. I like in any media when it comes, especially when it comes to the games, I've always disliked Quark. He's not. There are some funny moments with him, but he's just, again, he's an insufferable ass. I'm not a big fan of the Quark character. We have Paul Giamatti, who plays Drek really well. I kind of liked him as Drek. It was really funny. Sylvester Stallone, who, again, at first, especially playing the games, as well, and watching this movie, I think it's different for the game, but he voices Victor, or like this robot bodyguard for Drek, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I'm gonna say, I don't know how many times Sylvester Stallone has done voice acting, because honestly, no joke, first time around, I did not see or at least it sounded like him. And at first, I thought it was somebody who was kind of kind of doing a voice. But sure enough, once I get to the end credits, oh no, that was actually Sylvester Stallone. We have John Goodman, who plays Grimruff, who is kind of like the adopted father / friend of Ratchet in this version, which I kind of liked his character, especially for the game too. And this is more of like talking about the game and its story as well, because to some degree, I don't think, at least for the first part, as far as I can remember, for the franchise itself, I don't think Ratchet really had a father figure, or at least anybody portrayed as a father figure for Ratchet. And to see this, it was actually kind of cool, especially with him kind of being kind of like the rough, gruff, friend / adoptive father figure to Ratchet, which was another interesting and kind of interesting change to the story that I kind of accepted. We have Bella Thorne as Cora, Rosario Dawson as Alaris, and Ermin Shimmerman as Dr. Nefarious, which I'm going to say it was cool that they did something different, where it's like we get to see his change from being, how he was originally before he turned into a robot. And by the way, they do an end credit scene with this, and it was really fun. The action, the animation, everything about it is actually really, really great. And I will say, especially since, again, the scenes from this movie are basically, snippets, or at least cuts of it, are put in the game as cutscenes. They take enough out so that way you kind of want to watch the movie and see what they had extra. So, though, I will give one gripe. If I can give one gripe, is the way that they take out Nefarious. I'm not too happy with that, because it is a major change. Because spoilers for the game, for those who have not played the game. For the game, you basically it's like a typical boss fight where Nefarious equips himself with a robot suit, and he's kind of hurtled into a dwarf star. Whereas for this one, he's about to shoot Quark with the Rhino, which is rip you a new one. But yeah, he equips himself with probably one of the most strongest weapons in the game, and he gets knocked the fuck out with the Omni Wrench, and I guess gets digitized. And near the very end of the movie, after we get the initial cast and who voice them or voice the characters, we get a quick last credits or last scene where we see his transformation into the Nefarious that we know in the games. So, and that's not even in the game. That segment isn't in the game, which kind of sucks, but whatever. So, to some degree, if I had one gripe with this film, at least for me anyway, it's the fact that between the game and the movie itself, there are two separate endings. I mean, initially it is the same ending, but to certain degrees of how they defeat Nefarious. It's kind of irritating. I'm just gonna say that. So, to some degree, it's not consistent. I honestly, and it would have been really cool to do that, where maybe for the last 5-10 minutes they had this huge fight with the robot, but they didn't do that, which again is frustrating. So with that, characters are interesting. The new additions of characters are fun. Ratchet and Clank, although their characters are changed, are a lot of fun in this. Quark, still an ass. Animation's really good. Characters, villains, are a lot of fun. Actually, if anything, the villains are probably a lot more entertaining, or at least this time around. And by the way, last minute thing that I want to mention is we actually get a couple of references to not just like characters from different franchises, but also just PlayStation itself. There is, because I'm going through my last minute stuff, there's a scene where Quark turns on the TV and it plays the initial jingle or chime sound for when the PlayStation turns on, which I thought was great. And when there's a moment where Clank is literally trying to scan what Ratchet is, and we get seen, or at least images of Daxter from Jak and Daxter, Sly from Sly Cooper, and a variety of other things, which I thought was a lot of fun. So there's a few references, and I'm sure there's a couple that I missed, but either way, there's quite a few references when it comes down to other stuff that has been produced by PlayStation. So above all, again, Ratchet and Clank are interesting, especially when it comes down to the change of character. The new additions are interesting, to say the least. Quark's an ass. Enemies, or at least villains, are really interesting, especially with this time around. Animation's really good. Actually, really crisp, if I do say so myself. Or at least when it comes down to, the animation itself. So, with that, with everything, especially with the fact that, again, between the game and the movie, there are two separate endings, I'm going to give this a 7. As much as I've been talking great about the film, I can't honestly kind of forgive the whole 2 ending thing, especially with, again, it was a wasted opportunity when it comes down to how they defeat Nefarious in the film, and the fact that they change it between the movie and the game. And especially with the film itself, you literally, it's what they did to Nefarious was literally the equivalent to having been bitch slapped. So this is going to get a 7 out of 10 for me. So with that, that's my final thoughts of the Ratchet and Clank film. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.